So far, we've been encoding files using Kompressor's built-in presets. Granted, we have been modifying them along the way by adjusting various settings within the inspector. But as we know, when we make these adjustments, it doesn't actually change the master setting. It just changes the setting for the individual occurrence as applied to the file in the batch window. But if there's a particular modification to one of the settings that you know that you'll use again and again, then you'll want to save that out. And so that's what we'll discuss here. So in the previous movie, we created and modified a preset. Let me show you quickly how you can resurrect the work that you've already done. And you can follow along with me if you just performed the export in the previous movie. I'm going to go to Completed, and this was the file that we just exported. So I'm going to just click on this button here, Reuse, and then you can see that it brings me back to the current batch window. And you see that I have a little warning here. If I click on that, all it's telling me is that I already have a file named exactly this in exactly this location, so that if I re-export this, it's going to be overwritten. All right, so we'll keep that in mind. All right, so what did we do to this file? Well, we used the Apple Devices HD Best Quality Codec as our starting place. And then if I click on the Video tab, you can see that I have added 3 video effects. We added timecode, we added the text overlay, and then we also added a watermark. So let's say this is something that I want to use again and again, and I don't want to have to recreate the wheel each time. Well, I'm just going to save this out as a custom preset. So before you save it out, you want to make sure that you actually do want all of the characteristics that you've saved. I think what I'm going to do is turn off my text overlay and just have my timecode and my watermark for now. So let's turn off text overlay, and this is the setting that I want to save out. It's as simple as dragging and dropping right on custom, and then if you want to rename that, you can. I just click once, and that turns this into a text field, and I'm just going to append timecode and watermark. And so with this selected, I can look in the inspector, and you can see that the new name is reflected there. So that's modifying a setting that you've already applied to a file. You can also make a custom preset on its own without first applying it to a file. To do that, you just come down to this plus sign down here in the settings window and choose New Setting. And then from this pop-up, you choose the format that you'd like to start with, the base. And I think for our purposes, let's create a preset for email. So I need to really get it to be a very small file, under about 10 megabytes, which means that I'm going to degrade the video and audio quality quite a bit. But that's sometimes what you need to do in order to get the file very small. I'm going to start with MPEG-4 as my base, and I'm just going to call this email MPEG-4, and OK. And then unlike when I select a setting from the built-in presets, as you see here, if I select any of these, everything within my video tab is grayed out. I can't change anything. But when I select a custom preset, I can change it. So I'm going to select my email MPEG-4, and then I'm going to come over to video, and let's start degrading this video and audio quality. I'm going to change my frame size to something very small. We'll go to 428 by 240. And for our frame rate, we have a 24 frame per second video. So again, if you want to get the file very, very small, you can have that. So we would set that at 12. So again, this is going to be choppy, but it's going to be smaller. And I also want to bring down our data rate. I'm going to just come to data rate and change it to custom, and that's going to allow me to put in a number here. And I'm going to change this number to 210. And then, let's see, I don't think I'm going to change anything else in video, but I'm going to go over to audio. And I'll change the channels to mono, and under sample rate, I'll leave that at 44.1, and then I'll bring down my data rate to about 48. All right, so if you take a look here, here's the new specs. I'm really going to be crunching this, but let's see how it goes. I've now modified this custom setting, and I'll drag it on over to my job. Before I run this batch, I want to say that in addition to creating custom settings, you can also create custom locations. To do that, I just select my Locations tab and then come to this plus sign, and I'll navigate to the location that I want. Let's just put it on the desktop and a new folder, and I'll call this Exports Processed, and create. All right, so now that's a new folder on my desktop. I'll choose that, and you can see that it's deposited right here under my custom locations. So I'll just drag that on the job, You can see that source is changed to that exports processed folder. So let's go ahead and start the batch, and everything moves over to my active window, okay, and it's processing away. All right, so our exports are done. I'm going to look inside my exports processed folder. All right, so here is the first file. It has my time code and my watermark, and
Like
it's processed at Apple devices best quality. It ended up at 223.8 megabytes. And then here is my file for email. Let's see if we got it under 10 megabytes. We did, 8.4 megabytes. So I'm going to just open this up and show you what this looks like. Again, this is a very low resolution at 12 frames per second. So it definitely looks degraded, but if I needed to send that, people would get the idea in terms of the video and the audio that I needed them to hear and see. If I go back into Compressor and I go to my current tab, and let's go ahead and just add another file. I'll grab my interview here. Okay, and now I can go under Custom Settings, and instead of recreating the wheel, I'll just drag and drop, and I have all of those custom settings that I made, and also my custom location. All right, so as you use Compressor more and more, you'll certainly develop your own style of working with different custom settings and locations, and this can really help speed up your workflow.